You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Referral Mortgages and Blue Panda Realty, with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate in our nation's capital.
Hello.
Hello.
This is the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. Of course, I hit mute. Every week, we get together here to talk about mortgages, real estate, whatever else we want to talk about. I'm Paul Stevenson. I'm one of the owners and a mortgage agent at Referral Mortgages. As always, I'm joined by Greg Campbell, who is a partner at Blue Panda Realty, and David Warren, who is my business partner over at Referral Mortgages and also an expert mortgage agent. You can watch or listen to the podcast on YouTube and on podcast services of your choice, where it posts every Tuesday, 10 a.m. And if you're interested, you can also listen to the show live on Friday mornings right here on Facebook. We'd also like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, North Brew Coffee. They are a locally owned coffee brand, delicious. And you can use the podcast. You can use the code word podcast when you check out at northbrew.ca and get 20% off your order. Gentlemen, how was the week?
The week was good until about 45 minutes ago.
You sneezed.
Yeah, sneezed, tore up my knee, but now I'm all a little bit better.
You tore up your kney. That's fitting.
I tore up. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah,
I saw something pretty awesome. David, how are you doing, David? Before I jump into my amazing.
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Paul.
David's also here. I saw something that was pretty awesome this week. It was essentially Uber for pools. Have you guys seen this? It was called Swimply. Swimply. So you can basically, if you have a pool, which is a pretty hot topic right now, you can rent it out by the hour to locals.
It just seems like there's so many things that can go wrong with that.
It's a bad idea. It's so bad.
Like the insurance, renting out for $100 an hour and you've got somebody falling and drowning in your pool or something, or something happens in that water with their kids, it just doesn't seem like a great idea.
I can't imagine who's insuring that business.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the same impression people got when Airbnb came out. It's like, what? You're going to just let people sleep in your bed? That's horrible. It's disgusting. Yeah. I mean, it could catch. Apparently, there was one guy that made $85,000 in the last 12 months, which I don't even know how long it's been out for. But that was the number I read on the article that I was reading. So,
wow,
it's at $75 an hour. You're heading out for the afternoon, rent it out for 4 hours. There's a market there.
I made $85,000. He's waking up to breakfast to a pool party going on every day.
Oh, yeah. He's charging $100 a head, and he's just
that place is just a constant 365 party. That's
I guess there's clearly some liability waivers and stuff too. So probably to sign off if you die, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Diving board and slides have extra liability on them, but other big news today. After 3.5 months, I'm finally moving into my new chateau, my new maison. So I'm very excited about that. Kids are excited. We're pumped. It's been a long 3 months.
It has been just in time for the weekend.
It's funny. I was looking at a video of the first walkthrough, and it was still like 10 feet of snow on the ground, just like kicking the snow out of the way to get in the door. It's it's exciting. It's good. It'll be a good weekend. Father's Day, get to celebrate Father's Day at the new house, which will be fun. But yeah,
celebrate Father's Day, putting the kids to work, unpacking all their boxes, and moving furniture.
Early Father's Day gift tonight. Let's unpack. Let's go.
Move my stuff.
Yeah. Move my stuff. So we have an amazing guest here with us today, gentlemen. And Greg, do you want me to introduce our guest?
You can introduce her, Paul. Yeah, sure thing.
Great. So we have Irina Popova. Am I saying Popova? She is one of the owners and a broker at Blue Panda Realty, and she is a home selling machine. Okay, you get your house up, she's selling it. She's a machine. She's also got the voice of an angel. So why don't we bring on Irina, and she can give herself a quick intro. Thanks for joining us, Irina.
Come on! Wow, what an intro! Thank you so much. I'm super stoked to be here, and I'm so nervous. I don't know. I've done a couple of podcasts before. And I think as time goes on, as I get older, I realize just how much I don't know, and how little I actually have to say. So every time I do this, I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to talk about? What do people want to hear? And this is live, which is even worse. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the cool thing is we're going to jump into some conversations. I think we're going to get your take on certain things going on in the city.
Swimply, I just want to mention Swimply, I think, is genius. And from a consumer standpoint, like I'm going to look into booking it for a baby shower, I think in a couple of weeks. I think it's a genius idea. It's like Turo, people rent their cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also a big liability. So I think that's going to take off.
I agree.
Well, you can come back on and let us know how many waivers and how many stacks of pages of liability waiver and added insurance you had to.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, Irina, maybe just for listeners that I know they know Greg is a partner of Blue Panda, but how did you kind of get into real estate and tell us a bit about Blue Panda, just the history of it and where you guys are today?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in real estate since 2013. I actually, the way I got into it is probably like a lot of realtors. You try a couple of things and it doesn't work, and they're like, all right, I'll go into real estate. I went to school for robotics actually. And then by the time I finished, I was ready to fix robots.
You are a machine. You're a machine. There you go.
A robot. And so while I was finishing school, I was working at a restaurant. And one of the regulars is Nancy O'Day, who's a big realtor in Ottawa. And she just said to me one day, have you ever thought about real estate? Like, never. My family has never, bought homes. I just had no idea about it. And then I did some research. I talked to a couple of realtors, all of whom told me that, oh my God, it's so hard. Pretty much don't do it. And then I went into it anyway. And a couple of years later, I ended up meeting Max Demore, who's my business and life partner at this point. And so we started with Panda Realty about 5 years ago. And it was meant to be just a brokerage for us, just for Max and I and a couple of other agents, specializing in developments in central Ottawa. And then we've had agents approaching us after that. We approached Greg and brought him on board as well. And then it sort of took off from there. So I think we're at about 41 agents now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. And real estate, obviously, a dream. Like it's totally meant to be for me.
And you would say your focus originally was on developments, like you were mentioning that's what you wanted to get into kind of at the outset of creating Blue Panda?
So when I met Max, I was with a different brokerage, and so was he. And he recruited me on his team because he got a big development project and he needed people on board to sell the condos. And that was sort of the first one. And then it went from there. It would just sort of, I guess I fell into the developments. Max was targeting developers specifically, but it was sort of natural, I guess. And just went from there. And this was actually in the heat of the condo market being crappy. And everybody was saying, what are you doing? Don't specialize in condos. Don't sell condos. You're not going to make any money. And look at me now.
How have you found from that original, you mentioned, you kind of said that when you started, the condo market was down, which we know, and really it's only started to pick up again in the last couple of years. How have you found that kind of roller coaster in the condo market, and where do you have any anything to say about where it might lead to from here, or any good developments you're seeing around the city or anything like that? What are you seeing in the condo market, as that's what your specialty is?
It's still very active, right? But what we're seeing in the last couple of years is not a lot of new buildings going up, a lot of rentals going up instead, right? Because financially for developers, with how high the construction costs are, it just makes more sense to do rentals. So I think the supply of condos is still going to be low for a couple of years until we get maybe the Le Breton development actually going, and then there's the towers on Albert right nearby. So maybe in 5-7 years, I can see us having a big wave of supply. But I think in the near future, I think the condo market is gonna hold its value. A lot of the stuff that's launching now is quite expensive. again, because of construction costs just being so high. So we have a lot of luxury condo buildings going up, right? There are a few, like by Claridge, as an example, that are around $800 per square foot average, which is sort of the new low, right? And resale is,
which is crazy. Like that's crazy that's the new norm for per square foot.
Yeah, that is crazy. So I think there's a lot of value in resale right now, where if you can get something around the $500-600 per square foot. But there are also some beautiful new developments coming up for sure.
So sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned that you had an instance this week where a builder, I don't know if it was a condo or not, but a builder had actually reached out to the client and had them sign a new agreement, right? They increased the price by $100,000.
Yeah, it was a small builder, single family home in the outskirts. So I won't give the exact township, and because it is a small builder, and not looking to name names or anything, but client signed purchase agreement last year, so during COVID. And they reached out to the client and basically said, we're going to have to renegotiate your purchase price and increase anywhere from 10 to 17% your purchase price. Otherwise, we're not building your home, and that's it. They had a firm agreement. Felt really bad for the clients. New to Canada. Didn't really have, I found out after the fact, so he didn't get any sort of guidance or any legal advice or anything like that. And I don't know what the stipulations in the contract were that, might have allowed these, a clause like this. But he ended up re-signing where it increased his purchase price by $70,000. So it worked out to 11.5%. Increase over what his original was, and he was basically saddled. He was, already planning to relocate. His home is supposed to be built or finished for September, and they, are building it, but they basically told him that because of increasing costs, that we're just basically going to stop building, or we're not going to sell it to you anymore and cancel the agreement unless you agree to this increase. I don't know what the stipulations were in the contract, but I certainly found that to be a tough one for him to swallow. I mean, I was taken aback by it,
remember that happened out in kind of like the Navan area. Remember with Off or No, there was a couple developments out there where they just basically voided all the contracts and raised the prices by $200,000 or something. And just, sorry about that. Just moving on. Hey, it's wild. It's Wild West, it seems like.
Wow, but
have you seen that in the condo market, Irina?
I have not seen. Well, what I've seen in the condo market are projects that just canceling, and this
right.
Maybe last year, the year before, where you have a certain amount of sales, and then you just cancel it and either sell the lot to somebody else or turn it into rentals. But in my experience with developers that I've worked with, they're not evil, right? They're doing this change of prices because they want in their pocket. The margins are pretty tight right now.
Yeah.
So it's either they don't build or they build and they have to charge higher. It's unfortunate for sure, but I guess it's a profit-driven business.
Yeah.
So not-for-profit developers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If there was there's development right down the street, actually, from where you are on Wellington, the surface development at Parkdale and Wellington, and I had a number of clients that had purchase agreements in there that were signed, and they were under construction, and they kept delaying. I'm sure you had clients as well in there, and they ended up canceling the entire build, and now it's becoming a retirement residence. But they delayed it, I think, 2.5 years, and at that point, prices escalated. Where my client, bought, I think, at $240 or something like that. And then, then prices were at $450, she basically priced out of the city, had to go buy in Campbell instead. It happens, but it
sucks. There's obviously so many pros to buying pre-construction, but of course there are risks as well. And the surface development is a good example. It's now rentals, and I actually know the developer quite well, and he's a great guy, so that these things aren't done maliciously. It's just literally, if you can't continue to get financing from the bank because the numbers just don't make sense, then you don't really have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if the builder can't finish the project, you also don't have a home. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Exactly.
And I think there's an article that you found, Paul, recently about speaking of developers somebody who's looking to buy a whole slew of single family homes.
Yeah, Toronto-based company called Core Development Group. They have said that they're going to buy, or they're trying, I think, in the process of buying 4,000 single family homes, roughly about $1 billion. And they essentially want to convert those into 2 units and convert all of those houses into rentals. And their argument is that it basically doubles the housing supply. So they're going to have a lot, we're going to have, instead of 4,000 single family homes, 8,000 rental units. And so, the question now was, that's obviously a pro, doubling the supply. But then the question is, are these going to be existing rentals that they're buying, like kind of student housing type homes? Or are they going to be buying owner occupied homes and converting those to rentals? Because that's obviously going to take more homes off the market. Have you guys seen this, or what are your kind of thoughts on that? I know it's very common in the States, but this would be the first time it happened in Canada. So, with any big shift like this, like we've seen in the last year, there's bound to be things like this that come out, both swimply and also, these types of creative purchases. But what are you guys' thoughts on that, and where do you think that'll go?
I'd be interested to see if it's actually 4,000 additional units, because if they're buying up 4,000 homes that are occupied by families and they're resale, those families have to go somewhere. That 4,000 homes is a lot of homes. That's just going to drive up prices in that area of where they need to go. And if they're not converting them to actual duplexes or triplexes or fourplexes or what have you, they're really, at most, if it's going to 2 units, they're not doing it to every home, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. So are they really increasing that supply, or are they just trying to, artificially drive up the market?
And did you guys see anything about it? Are they talking about buying, it's just like individual homes all over the place, or are they talking about like trying to buy like a neighborhood? No,
they said 4,000 rental units in Ontario, Quebec, BC, and Atlantic Canada by 2026.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah. It says the idea is to buy homes that can be split into 2 units, for example, with a second unit in the basement, and turn both over to the rental market.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's, again, pros and cons to what they're doing. From what I understand, they're not going to be competing in bidding wars, right? They say that they do have margins that they have to follow. So they're not going to be competing with first-time home buyers. I imagine they're going to be like an iBuyer, just going directly to the sellers of places that are not on the market. And, the tenants, families, right? When families rent homes, it's usually not from a property management company or a big corporation. So those tenants, if the person wants to move back in or wants to sell, the families have to move out. And we actually just yesterday, outside of our office, there was a protest of like 40 people, and they were just heading to our neighbor who apparently owns a property and had given notice to his tenants to move out. And it's a family, and they're in an unfortunate situation, so they can't move out. So having purpose-built or purposely used rentals that are single-family homes, I think provides a lot of protection for those tenants, where you're locked in, whether it's on the lease or month to month, you're not going to be kicked out. I think that's huge. We don't have family focused rentals in the city. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something to be said for that. And especially if they're not competing with the rest of the buyers. I don't see a lot. And another point, I've seen a lot of really poorly maintained rentals, especially with the fourplexes, right? Where it's just one person that owns it. They're not in the city. There's water stains on the ceilings, mold growing in the basement, right? They don't care. But with a company, I think there's going to be better living conditions for the tenants. So I don't know. I see it as a positive mostly.
I think it would start a pretty aggressive trend, because I know like private equity firms, REITs, like all these people are going to see this as an opportunity to make money off of the growth in Canada too, which is, real estate is obviously a very sound investment. Typically, it's the only real like brick and mortar item other than maybe gold or minerals and stuff that you can buy that's actually tangible. But it would be interesting to see if this does go through, what happens over the next 4 or 5 years with other kind of larger private equity firms trying to do the exact same thing. And how would that, it's one thing if it's just one transaction of 4,000 homes in Canada, but what happens when it spreads to all the major cities, and then that would really affect the owner occupied availability in Canada. if it gets there. In the States, there's, 350 million people or something now, something in that crazy range. So, I mean, I feel like they have a bit more room to do that. But when you're talking less than 40 million people in the whole country, it wouldn't take too many of these sorts of purchases to shift the whole market.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be.
It's interesting how, I think there's going to be a lot of comments from, a group of people who are just kind of saying like, oh, now this is happening and now it's going to drive the prices up more or something. And then they'll never be able to buy. And, I think that's going to be the up in arms, like, representing first time home buyers and stuff like that. So
I think a lot of people, sorry, Greg, a lot of people who me are not in real estate. I read this article and in my head, it's someone's going to buy up like half of Canada, just all in one spot. That's what it is to me. And that's terrifying. Right. But obviously when you spread it out over 4 provinces, obviously it's not going to impact me as much. But I feel like a lot of this is pretty sensational. But to Paul's point, it's terrifying if it starts happening, every other week.
Hopkins that's the thing, right? Yeah. Then it becomes a problem. And I guess that's the main concern. It's like, what happens if it gets out of control? But bottom line is it can't get out of control that quickly. And, other things will change over time. There'll be different trends. So, in terms of, Irina's point of seeing it as a positive where like everything will be managed better, it'll just be, that's a huge bonus, I think. And because there are tons of landlords who just do not care, and some of the tenants end up in situations and it's just a battle and, they don't even want to be there, but then they got nowhere to go because they got in this situation with a shitty landlord. So, from that perspective, I think it's very, very reasonable and very, very realistic.
Yeah,
I think it also leads into the need for increasing supply in general. Like I know it's been also in the news and there's been a lot of talk at Parliament about it recently. And obviously they made the stress test changes for June 1st to kind of address the housing issue. But really it all boils down to, and we've talked about it in nauseam over the past years of, the red tape for development. And the cost of development is so significant that people don't even realize or acknowledge, that aren't in real estate or even are in real estate, but still don't realize the development costs to build even just say like rental units and, what their costs are, or single family homes or things like that of what, it's typically around 7 years to be able to get shovels in ground from buying to get through the permits. You're talking upwards of, even for a 2-bedroom apartment, the development fees alone, $20,000 a unit plus. There's so many added costs that this red tape just slows down the build and as to what Irina was talking about of costs increasing, where the builders aren't malicious and trying to cancel these builds. They need to build and be able to continue building so their company doesn't go underwater. But all this red tape causes them to have those issues of cost driving up and artificially increasing the price because it's they're not able to build. Like taking 7 years, 8 years to build a rental building of a couple hundred units or 100 units is crazy when there's such a need. It's just bogs down the system.
I'm kind of torn on this subject as far as builder costs, because I do understand exactly the points you're saying. And I feel like I have to give the other side of the story is that, like, as a builder, I already mentioned this, it's a for-profit business, but this pandemic has hit many industries very hard. And, if you're a builder and you're a business owner, you are also taking on that risk and you have to be prepared for these sorts of things. I heard a stat that 35 to 40% of small businesses in the US are never coming back just because of the pandemic. And I'm not saying that these builders should be going out of business, but at the same time, passing off those costs that, like, you basically took on the risk and then you're passing off the cost of that risk to your buyers, which is also not fair. I mean, that's something that, if you're the business owner, you have to take that, you're taking the risk on, and you should really be, covering that risk, not passing on, maybe splitting it with the clients. But I just feel like there's there's two sides to the story, obviously. But, if you, like you said, Dave, that new to Canada person, they maybe had a dream of buying a home here in Canada, and that dream might no longer be available because of they're kind of, passing it off to the client now, right? Without taking that on. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. There's two sides to every story. Obviously, no matter how flat the coin, there's two sides, But yeah, I just figured I have to say the other side too.
But it's interesting with these articles where people are always up in arms for the home buyers, but there are also the home renters that never want to buy a house or have the needs anyway, or have the means to buy anyway. And those people need to be protected too. And I think this is a real positive for renters, which is a big population as well.
Yeah, and there are some people who they choose. I mean, I know people who are just like, no, I'm renting forever, not interested, right? So
yeah,
and that happens too.
There's a number of buildings. I'm on Preston, and there's a number of developments around that were going to be condoed, have now they pivoted to being rentals. Are you seeing, or when you're talking to developers that Irina, that that have kind of pivoted towards the rental market, are they still building with the intention that in 10 years that they'll likely condo off that building and sell the units, or that they'll do you know if that's even in their roadmap or not? Like I know around me, like the Nuovo was a Barry Hoban building, design was going to condo, it went to rentals. The Soho Italia, which is being built right now, was it's Gluckstein finishings, like everything was going to be sold off, was going to be condoed. I think they had a tough time selling this, units in the Soho Champagne and their other Soho buildings, but they pivoted and now it's going to be a rental. There's on my street, Tamarac's building was going to be sale. Now they pivoted to rentals. Find that's they're obviously going to be high-end rentals. But it's kind of like builds that were going to be condoed that are now rentals. And I kind of, in my head, I kind of see it as maybe to help them, like you said, the cost of development is high. So maybe they're kind of bridging that gap for a period of time, or do you know if that's in their roadmap or mindset?
I haven't had anyone, tell me that that's their plan. And the thing with rentals too is the level of finishes is not what you need to have for condo sales. So a lot of these rentals, they might have quartz countertops, but they'll have laminate flooring instead of hardwood that you'd find in new construction for condos. So I'm not sure if, I guess never say never. Like there is a building just by the Bayview station by the LRT in Hintonburg that was a rental for a long time. They're sort of stacked townhomes. They were rentals for a long time, and they are now being sold off as condos. And they're maybe 20 years old. So yeah, I guess it's possible. Be interesting to see. There's a lot of rentals going to be available very soon. So
yeah, and high end too. Like these three buildings I'm talking about, they are high end finishings. I'm curious to see what they go for rent, especially the Soho Italias. I think is a funny one because they pivoted. They went through CMHC construction financing for 50-year amortization and 0% interest, and building basically their $90 million building for zero cost, if you will. So I'm curious to see and to deem it as affordable housing for at least 30% of the units. So I'm interested to see what that 30% affordable housing rents are actually going for by the time they're finished. But I think I was talking to some professors as well, talking about, universities coming back. I know the condo market downtown has been tough because a lot of people selling off, like people that had renters, that moved outside the city because they're not working downtown during the pandemic, or students not here. I think with all these rentals coming up, especially in my neighborhood and these higher end, I'll be interested to see if they get picked up as university comes back, people start going back to work, how that kind of transitions things. But
if and when.
But people, even now we're talking about the market plateauing or like crashing or whatever. But I think people are still going to make money. It's not like, 5 years ago in the condo market where you're selling and you have to pay $50,000 to sell it. It's just now, instead of making $100,000 of profit in 2 years, you're making 60 or something. I think we kind of have to change our mindset a bit, and where sellers right now have to change their mindsets. Like, okay, you're not getting $200,000 over asking, but you're still going to make a lot of money. It's a mind shift.
Yeah, that's the challenge right now for sure. It's just expectations with the market. 100%. Irina, what projects are you working on specifically? I know you got a couple, you've got that one big one at Stone Abbey. How's that going? Can you tell everybody about that a bit?
Yeah. Stone Abbey is beautiful. It's in Old Ottawa South, right by the Southminster Church. So they're keeping the church and they're building sort of behind it along the canal. And it's a 20-unit building, large units. They're between 1,100 to 2,400 square feet. Beautiful terraces, like really, really stunning. So we're about halfway through the project now. So they're starting demolition and everything right now. But yeah, beautiful. And this is by Windmill, who's a local Ottawa builder here. And then another one we're working on is ZB. And that's, I feel like everybody in Ottawa needs to know what this is and where it is and what it is, because it's a huge thing that's happening in our city. You know, it's one of only, I think, 12 communities in the world that has the One Planet designation. And this master plans community, they've won multiple awards for like best new community in North America, maybe in the world as well, if I remember correctly, but it's super cool.
I pass by it. I pass by it every time I go to the cottage every weekend. And I love seeing, I hadn't been obviously over the winter. And so when I started going up again, I drive over that bridge to see the whole development. It's been really cool seeing that landscape change, because you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't know about it or know the design aspects, you know, using the old red brick buildings, kind of converting them, nice like matte black windows and kind of that commercial facade, as well as kind of that mix of modern and old. And same with the buildings, just the designs are so cool that I think it is, you're right. A lot of people don't know about it, and the views that are there as well for those units and all that. It's such a cool place.
They're doing their zip line starting next week. So from, you can go over the river from
no way.
From one shore to the other. And
Greg and I are going.
Are you going to do it?
Sure.
Irina, you're doing it. There you go.
We'll do a live tow rep zip line. Just the three of us ripping across. I remember I had a client looking in there, I want to say maybe 2 years ago or whenever they first announced it. And he was like, 350,000. I just can't justify it. There's no way. Like he just couldn't get there. This is like obviously pre-pandemic, but he was, it was just, I mean, that was, 350, 400 for a condo kind of between Ottawa and Gatineau was, seemed absurd at the time. Right now it seems like a steal. So
for sure. This is a long project, right? They're probably total like a 20-year project. And imagine every time I pass by there, we work with the developer there, but I think, oh my God, the commitment and the passion you need to have for one project to work on something for that long, right? Even just cleaning up the soil, because it was used to be contaminated. Yeah. Like just that process took, I think, a couple of years before they could even start building and selling things. So I think it's super cool. And they're, the green aspect of it is super admirable. And it's Dream Developments, who's from Toronto. They did the Distillery District in Toronto. So it's a similar stuff. Right?
And what's where are they on the phases? Like where, I know there's a couple buildings that are finished right now, and there's two that are like, almost at their peak of height being finished, and kind of they're finishing the exterior facade. But, what phase would you say of X? You said it's possibly a 20-year project, but, are they in phase one still? Or are they, where do you think they are on that timeline?
So as far as I know, and I should know, they're probably about 10 to 15 years out. So a large portion of the first part of it, I guess, was preparing the soil and the lands. So right now they've completed one condo building on the Quebec side, because it's on two provinces, right? It's on the Quebec shore and then the Chaudière Islands in Ontario. So they've got one condo building in Quebec, one condo building in Ottawa, and they've got a couple of commercial buildings pretty much ready. And right now what you're seeing being constructed is a federal government office building, which is on the Ontario side. And then there's a rental building that's going up right now on the Quebec side. Okay,
cool. Yeah, the exterior of the federal building, that facade, I find is such a cool design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Cool. And another building that I think they're going to start digging probably later this year is really interesting, and it kind of goes with the whole affordable housing conversation that we're having. And it's not. I'm gonna screw it up. It's not communal living, but it's is it co-living, where you like luxury co-living maybe. But essentially you have your own bedroom and I'm assuming your own bathroom, but you have common areas. So it is meant for single not necessarily single professionals, but for young professionals, maybe some couples, maybe families too. So it's a lower cost of living, but you still get to enjoy beautiful spaces. And I think this is a concept that they have in New York, at other cities as well, but they are working with somebody that's in this sort of building elsewhere. So it's going to be interesting to see applied here. Yeah.
And where's that?
That's cool.
Where's that building going to be?
That's it's ZB on the Ontario.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
across from where the Panda building is in Ontario.
Okay,
yeah,
that's very cool.
I wonder if the penthouse has its own zip line to Parliament, just whoosh, Batman style right out your window. Yeah.
Don't need that.
So, gentlemen, ladies, should we get into the mood boost?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Are we there? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah,
Greg,
I guess, I mean, do the mood boosts. We'll do the mood boosts, and we'll thank Irina, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, well, you'll
find out, Irina. You'll find out.
Yeah, so the mood boost, we basically pass the mic to you, Irina, and you have to talk for 3 minutes straight. No, I'm kidding. No, every week at the end of the show, we basically spit out 3-4 jokes. Keep the moods up, get everyone laughing going into the weekend. So today we got 3. Number 1, what's green and has wheels? Grass. I lied about the wheels. Not my favorite. Not my favorite.
That's terrible.
No,
terrible.
Yeah. Awful.
Number 2, a Spanish magician told his audience he was going to vanish on the count of 3. He counted 1, 2, and disappeared without a trace.
Wow.
Oh. And number 3, I call my horse Mayo, and sometimes mayonnaise.
I love mayo.
Dude.
I love mayo.
I think those 3 were the worst ever.
Yeah.
Out of every episode we've done.
Perfect going into Father's Day. Father's Day weekend. Father's Day
jokes.
Terrible jokes.
Last week they were amazing. Last ones, they were incredible. Anyways, well, yeah, Irina, thanks for coming on. I think that was great. I mean, you shed a lot of good information.
Yeah, awesome insights.
It was just great having you on as a guest. I think we should have you back on if you would love it.
I want to do it. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
And where can people find you, Irina, if they wanted to, follow you on the gram, if they want to stop by the new office?
On the socials, Instagram, Irina.pops. I have no idea what my handle is on Instagram. I'm sure you know it. Stop by the office, 85 Hinton Avenue. We're here.
We'll make sure in the show notes when we put it up on YouTube and on the podcast platforms that we have links to kind of your socials as well, just so that people can check you out. And for everyone who is listening, Father's Day Sunday, make sure you say hi to your pops, tell them you love them, and enjoy the weekend. We'll be back next Friday, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Happy Father's Day, I guess, to all of
yes.
No.
Okay.
Not David.
2 for 3, just like the mood boost usually. Hey? Thanks a lot, Irina, for coming on. It's great to get a different perspective, and we should definitely have you on a little more regularly.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
The Ottawa Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Referral Mortgages, Blue Panda Realty, and Stephen Hopkins Video. Thanks for tuning in, and please remember to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you.